sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love.
I'll walk the path with you. Go slow, dear one, don't hurry. I'll go just like you need to go. There is no need to worry.
I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love.
It starts with a feeling. It may start with a feeling of powerlessness. It starts with feelings piled on top of others, layers of fear, grief, pain, rage, despair, bravura, overwhelm. Well, I can name all these feelings, trusting that you have felt them too. As human, as mammals, as sentient beings, you've experienced these same unwelcome emotions at some point in your life. It is rare, an illness, for anyone not to feel the whole gamut of emotions during their lifetime, from elation to anger, from hopelessness to joy, and everything in between, even all at once. A warning: inevitably, I will skirt us along the edge of recent shooting tragedies. If you feel your own fear and trauma arising, try taking a long, slow, deep breath. And notice your bodily sensations of sitting in the pew, your chair, couch, floor, wherever you may be. Ground yourself in the physicality to titrate any fears or reactions, and I will be gentle. Try to sit with your discomfort if you're safe, in a safe place. My aim is not to re-traumatize, but to get us all to pay closer attention to our feelings, all of our feelings. Pleasant, unpleasant, and some so familiar we don't even notice them. They become neutral. I don't know about you, but I naturally prefer avoiding all the troublesome ones. And we have collectively had more than our fair share. We prefer to be blissed out in calm, joy, happiness, pride, excitement. That's what I want. But I recognize it is impossible to remain on such highs always. So where I'm headed today is viewing our whole and full emotional life as the foundation of our ethical and spiritual lives. None of our feelings are a waste, even the most awful ones. None of our feelings are unique, even the most shameful ones. None are to be ignored, even the direst ones. And none dictate what actions we must take. So the spiritual theme for this month is inclusion. And I want to look at what it means to be inclusive of ourselves before trying to be inclusive of all others. beginning to notice and reconcile our own complex thoughts and emotions is key before we can open our arms to others. So, closely investigating at this internal place may sound simplistic, but just becoming slightly less reactive to this whole interior stew of sensations, feelings, stories makes a dramatic difference in our relationships and in our choices to act or not to act. It might be easier for us to look at a piece of history, something not so intimate or immediate. Over 40 years ago in San Francisco, the disgruntled city supervisor Dan White, a former fireman and policeman, murdered George Moscone and Harvey Milk. And if you don't know that, you need to know the story that Harvey Milk was one of the first openly gay politicians back in the 70s. So White was acting out of his own noxious stew of emotions. It started as a feeling. And he told the New York Times that he saw himself as the city board's defender of the home, the family, and religious life against homosexuals, pot smokers, and cynics. Now there's a grab bag. White had resigned from his city position, but then realized his voice was a deciding one. He wanted his title back, he wanted his power back. I don't want to dwell on Dan White, but I do want each of us to consider times you may have felt a version, a similar version of these same feelings of regret, powerlessness, and rage. I know I have. For example, I can recall too vividly times raising our children when I felt at my wit's end. And for the first time, I had an inkling of what a parent without coping skills might do under stress, with little sleep, job demands, money worries, and partner complications. Identifying commonality with someone whose actions are odious, disgusting, and violent may seem wrong-headed, but it's instructive. I cannot claim to understand Dan White's thought processes, but I can notice all the times my own anger and accompanying stupidity allowed me to lash out unhelpfully, unskillfully. Regrettably, we have many contemporary public and possibly private examples of people acting on their feelings, of ruminating and granting more power to hate or rage. When violence and killing seems like a reasonable answer to a feeling, those feelings indeed have blinded that person to the thousands of other options that are more effective and less harmful. So if you're like me, paying closer attention to my baser emotions seems counterintuitive. Won't giving them an audience grant them more power over me? Wouldn't that be indulging in the pain and rage? No. Because a certain kind of curiosity, a detached interest, makes room for more understanding more clearly where the feeling comes from. It's possible to become skilled at noticing the kernel of troublesome feelings before they grow overwhelming. They become less surprising, familiar even. Useful signals you can indeed begin to handle. And they're gateways to better understanding our fellow humans. Just like the story On's anger that Shannon Boston read. On learns to see his anger not as some monolithic, scary thing that gets him in trouble. Instead, spending time alone with it, he starts to find all the nuances of anger. Anger can feel so empowering, enlivening, but On sees the power and passion within his anger. There is so much energy, he can dance with it. One of the seminal texts, books, from the activist work that the church does, Action. The book is titled Cold Anger, and it tells the history of work being done in San Antonio, that the citizens are channeling their anger towards city policies and inequitable treatment. They're channeling that anger into working together effectively, using the passions behind the anger. And they end up making significant and lasting changes to their city with cold anger, not Dan White's hot anger. I have a family member who tends to rage. Over the years, I've learned not to take his anger personally. It's taken a long time to figure that out. I now see his hanging up on me and his cutting off other family members as serving as the exact opposite of what he really wants, which is genuine connection. My own anger can do the same thing, deliver the reverse of my intentions. So the remedy to anger or any strong feelings is not to avoid or ignore it. Instead, one task at hand is to pay closer attention to it. Notice what triggers it. How does it feel? Where does it come from just before? What are those physical sensations? Heat in my chest, in my stomach, shoulders, that jaw that gets tight. One of my favorite Buddha stories shows the power of this less anxious attention that helps avoid getting tangled up in the passion and the stories and the energy. So the night before his enlightenment, Siddhartha Gautama fought a great battle with Mara. Mara is the archetypal devil of Buddhist mythology, a demon god, a tempter. And Mara attacks with every disrupting, distractive scenario he has: lust, greed, anger, doubt. But Mara fails because the Buddha notices more and more how these temptations evoke emotions that just come and go like the waves on the shore. No emotion is permanent. It may seem that way, but look again. They ebb and they flow. The Buddha doesn't have to respond, and he doesn't. And that's when he becomes enlightened, a wise aha. That's all enlightenment is, a wise aha. But this isn't the end of the story. Just as no feeling ever lasts, is the last and the only one, even after the Buddha became deeply revered throughout India, Mara continues to make appearances. So the Buddha's loyal attendant, Ananda, always on the lookout for harm that might come to his teacher, would report with dismay that the evil one had returned again. Instead of ignoring Mara or driving him away, the Buddha calmly acknowledges his presence, saying, "I see you, Mara." I imagine them playing a little hide-and-seek game. I see you. The Buddha would then invite Mara for tea and serve him as an honored guest, offering Mara a cushion so that he could sit comfortably. The Buddha fills 2 earthen teacups, places them on a low table between them. Only then does the Buddha take his seat. Mara would stay a while, get bored, and then go. But throughout, the Buddha remained free and undisturbed. Aha. So this apocryphal story resonates with me because I recognize over the decades how every emotion visits me. Not just the awful Mara ones, but the joyous, very welcome ones. And the more I notice this revolving door, their coming and going, the less hold they have over me. And I'm not describing becoming some automaton, but rather being able to respond creatively, helpfully, compassionately, no matter the feeling or situation. My particular Maras are envy, anger, gluttony, and boredom. I see you, jealousy. Oh, insatiable hunger, you showed up again. Why, shame, weren't you just here? Did you forget something? By accepting these experiences with curiosity, the warmth of compassion even, we can offer Mara tea rather than fearfully driving him away. We begin to see more clearly what's true for ourselves and for all others. Most importantly, I can see the very different choices of what to do next. I'm not stuck in the ruts of rage and pain and hunger, and they seem to put me in. I'm not stuck. I'm no longer a slave to my automatic reactions. As Rumi so eloquently advised, be a guest house. Be inclusive. Few emotions are singular or pure, which is another reason to pay very close attention to your internal sensations. Joy always carries a shadow of sorrow. Have you been elated to go on vacation, but you already have in the back of your mind some sadness that it's only a week long and has to end? At Unitarian Universalist memorials, we give voice to the possibilities of grief, also carrying relief, awe, laughter. There is a cartoon of 2 fish swimming side by side in the ocean. One side-eyes the other and says, I have mixed emotions about having been caught and thrown back. Having mixed emotions is the natural state of fish and of being human. And our greatest spiritual task, both personal and as a religious community, is to peel away all the layers of self-deception to get as close to reality as possible. Only there can we love most fully, help most selflessly, laugh most heartily, and cry most readily, and feel every single feeling. In these trying times, one coping mechanism is to simply name it. When you feel something, sorrow, anger, confusion, funny, notice if and how and when it changes. Does it get stronger, magnified, weaker, dimmer? Or does it get set aside because you're on to the very next moment in your life and you've forgotten that strong feeling for a moment? I didn't pick Dan White's tragic tale out of thin air, because how San Francisco responds to his murder, his murdering ways, is an exquisite example of recognizing every feeling, then seeing other possibilities for reacting. In particular, one response to those two deaths remains enshrined in our gray hymnal, number 170. As the city considers how to respond to these two shootings and begins planning a vigil, musician Holly Near attends to her own incensed, outraged, sad, inspired, and moved reactions. Her visceral, embodied feelings grow into words, then a poem with a melody, and finally a full-blown anthem, now sung around the world. So Holly Near takes her anger and San Francisco's despair and turns it into a dance. She invites Mara to tea and into her lyrics. We are a gentle, angry people. She writes a zipper song, which is a musical form that continues to change. It's a tool to give the song power, no matter the situation. Each verse makes room for additions, and as feelings and needs evolve, we can change and add lyrics. We can generously include all the feelings that bubble up. So when we're attentive to our own feelings, we begin to be increasingly open-hearted to ourselves and then to each other. We resonate with each other. We see how we're all wired together. We are justice-seeking. We are young and old together. We are gay, straight, questioning, loving, and every color. Nothing will be wasted. Nothing, not our anger, not our joy. And we are singing for our lives. Amen.
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. Justice seeking. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. A land of many colors. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. Gentle, loving,